Hey folks, Doomed Wizard here with the Doomed Wizard Society.
Mike.
Mark. Nick.
A while back, like a long time ago, one of my earliest videos, I had done an Appendix N DVD edition for ideas for where to grab ideas for your campaigns. And I briefly touched on 1983's Fire and Ice. And I got a lot of people were asking me to do a longer video on it, to kind of go into it a little more. And I thought, my fellow wizards like to watch movies too, and some of them haven't seen this. So we we sat down, watched it, and here we are. So I thought we would discuss it. But before we get too far into that, I would like to give a shout out to this video sponsor, Into the AM, the maker of this fine shirt. Into the AM started off with a few graphic shirts with a focus on vibrant colors and wild designs back in 2012, and has grown to offer a diverse range of clothing that has gone beyond simply graphic design. Their mission is to provide a wide selection of high-quality clothing of various styles and preferences. Comfortable, casual, and uniquely designed, these shirts will quickly become your favorites, like they've become mine. Into the AM are committed to maintaining the highest level of quality in everything they create. Take it from your pal, the Doomed Wizard, they're succeeding. Check out their diverse collection of graphic designs, polos, and button-ups for yourself. I seldom go to one of my Saturday night game nights without wearing one of their graphic tees. Regardless of your RPG of choice, you're sure to find something that fits your game. And if you use promo code Doomed Wizard, you'll get an additional 10% off your total purchase. That's like walking into a store and telling them, Doomed Wizard sent me.
In an age of myth and legend, the world trembles before the power of Necron, master of evil, ruler of ice. Against him stand Tigra, princess of Firekeep, and captive of the ice demons, Larn, last of a mighty warrior tribe, and her only hope of escape. And Dark Wolf, mysterious avenger, and sworn enemy of the Ice Tyrant. Their courage will be tested. The challenge must be met. The final battle between the armies of the cold and the keepers of the flame is about to begin. Fire and Ice. From the visual imagination of Ralph Bakshi and the dazzling artistry of Frank Frazetta, a fantasy adventure from 20th Century Fox.
So, fellas, Fire and Ice.
Well, let's see. I liked it. Yeah, definitely as my first time seeing it, and I don't know how this slipped through the cracks for me. Just one of those things.
When that came up on Jared's Facebook that you had not seen it, I'm like, I have failed you as a friend. I just assume everyone has seen it.
A couple things stand out. Like actually, the first thing I thought was, in case you haven't seen this, there's this evil wizard who's pushing this glacier toward the Kingdom of Fire, Firekeep. And I thought, oh, this is Dungeons & Dragons meets the Monolith Monsters. Because the giant ice things are and they're falling, and we're building, and they're falling. I'm like, oh, it's a Monolith Monster. Okay. And which I love that movie.
Yeah. That's a fun one.
So, and then another thing I thought of probably around near the end of the second act, I thought, this movie involves a lot of running. There's a lot of running in this movie. But it's been a long time since I've seen a rotoscope animation film. I love that stuff. It's just so it's so evocative of the time period. And then you mentioned the backgrounds were painted by
Thomas Kincaid did a lot of the
they're
background.
gorgeous. That's another thing that really stood out to me was especially when in the scenes with Lauren and Tigra and like when she's lost and he's trying to find her in the forest, like just there's psychedelic colors and they're so cool looking. So there's a lot of just visually stunning stuff in this movie.
Yeah, I like this movie a lot. I haven't seen it in a while. But the Frazetta influence is very obvious.
Yes,
and I used to have all the Frazetta books, and pour through those, and all the naked barbarians and everything. Yeah, nobody wears, hardly any clothes in this movie.
Right.
No. Well, when you look like a Frazetta character, why would you wear clothes?
Correct.
Right, true.
No one wears practical armor.
Yeah, there's no armor. No wonder they're running so much. They don't.
Yeah, right. To keep warm.
Yeah.
They only wear furs to keep warm. Yeah, true.
But it was always a lot of fun. I liked the barbarian guy or the
Dark Wolf.
Dark Wolf with the wolf head,
or as I refer to. Yeah, or my Mark calls him Mytor. Or I like to refer to him as Frank Frazetta interjecting himself into the story. So,
yeah, but he was always my favorite character, and the subhumans are fun because they're so dumb.
Yes, when you're going to kidnap a princess, always send your Neanderthal barbarian, your elite squad of barbarians.
I don't know. Do you have anything?
It's been probably 30 years since I saw it last.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I watch it more for the art and the look of it than necessarily the plot.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of a bit thin on dialogue and thin on plot.
Well, honestly, the thin on dialogue is what I really enjoy.
Yeah, no, I think it's
the plot is pretty standard.
Yeah,
sword and sorcery.
Yeah, she gets kidnapped about 1,700 times.
Yes, the princess goes through hell.
Yeah. And so, but I do like her. I like her story arc. I mean, to me, she's more the main character than the kid, and
in some ways,
and she gets the biggest arc. I mean, she goes from spoiled princess, lounging in bed, to warrior queen almost by the end. So yeah, I like her arc and just the and the fact that it does feel like non-Schwarzenegger Conan. I mean, it's got that type of fantasy.
Yeah.
So where it's really dark magic. There's not a lot of blood. In my head there was a lot more blood in the movie than I remember, but it didn't seem as much. So I don't know if that was for ratings or what.
No, there was quite a bit
there. It just depends on who was getting hit, who got blood.
Yeah.
But I like that kind of fantasy, sort of the dark and dirty fantasy.
Yeah, that's the sword and sorcery.
Yeah, sword and sorcery. Right. Yeah. So
this movie, the blood is part of the problem with this movie as to why it tanked, because the producers didn't know how to market it.
Yeah.
Because I can imagine. Could you imagine, like, on a Saturday matinee, you took the family to the movies,
right?
And there's a cartoon, and you're thinking Disney, and you take your little 7-year-old kid in there, and he's just like mortified with
Well, I can imagine that in America, the parents are more mortified with her lounging on her bed in the beginning.
Yeah. Well, I guarantee the dad was.
No, the dad was like, "That was a fine film, son.
We'll see where this goes."
Yes. Kind of a coming of age.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, for those that don't know, the plot's kind of, like, as Mark said, the plot's kind of simple. It's just you have a ice kingdom and a fire kingdom, and they're fighting. The fire kingdom, the ice kingdom are the bad guys, so they kidnap the princess, and wackiness ensues.
Yeah. I love Ralph Bakshi's movies. Like we were talking about Wizards and his Lord of the Rings. And I love my favorite episodes of the old Spider-Man cartoon are the ones that he.
Yeah,
you and I said that. Yeah, there was a certain scene where the barbarian kid's laying on the ground.
Yeah.
I'm like, my God, it's like Peter Parker looking around.
Yeah,
when he's looking for the praying mantis monster.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think that helped me liking this movie a lot. It's having seen the '67 Spider-Man.
So yeah. And that had like those funky backgrounds too, and
Yeah.
uh, just weird plots where Spider-Man was always going to other dimensions. and
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah.
So the dimension of whatever Bakshi had laying around
Yeah.
already from another movie.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, those movies really stand out from my childhood because
Yeah.
we were into D&D and there weren't that many good fantasy, movies to watch.
No, not really.
Can't really think of any besides those.
Yeah, not till junior high did we really
Yeah,
get to
like
after
the
Conan,
80s had
the
some.
post Conan, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this would be a post Conan
Yeah.
movie,
Yeah.
since it was '83.
It's definitely inspired by
yeah.
the success.
Especially
of-
especially the witch woman and her
Mhm.
Neanderthal
Oh, yeah.
son.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't you should never walk into a witch's
Yep.
house
Yep.
ever
Right.
after you've seen Conan.
Never go, never go into a hut
Yeah.
and never go into the water.
Yes.
Mhm.
But
Yes.
yeah, after seeing Conan, don't
Yeah.
go into a witch's hut.
Well, I was a big fan of Weird World as a kid. And so, Marvel did a really good series about 10, 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They revisited Weird World and it was done really well. And so, but that's this sort of fantasy that I like a lot better. So, it's too bad there couldn't have been, if this were made nowadays, we would have gotten, Dark Wolf, the origin. We would have, there would have been a lot more, because it kind of leaves you wanting more. Just when it gets like to the super battle, it's over.
Mhm.
So,
Well, there had been talks for a long time that Robert Rodriguez was going to make a
Yeah.
live action
Yeah.
version of
Oh,
it.
wow.
yeah,
It never, it's never panned out, I guess,
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
Hmm.
Well, maybe we could have gotten more there.
right.
Well, and you brought up the witch's hut, like that whole thing gets kind of shortchanged.
Yes, yeah.
Where what's she gonna do?
Yeah, yeah.
Who is this lady?
Yeah, she just gets stabbed.
Yeah.
Like so
Yeah.
much for your powers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we know what she wanted to do.
Yeah.
That's all. That's
Yeah.
If you're looking for this movie, by the way, it's free on Tubi and it's also on YouTube.
But you get, the shot of Dark Wolf at the end,
Yeah.
Death Dealer.
Yeah.
it's like that was just totally the Death Dealer.
Looking like a Molly Hatchet
Yeah,
album
yeah.
cover.
Totally.
So
Yeah,
that
a
was
lot of-
cool.
A lot of scenes looked like album covers.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think now if they'd focus on Dark Wolf, I think that would be the whole movie would be him as the main character,
Yeah.
rather than sort of the Aragorn side character
Yeah.
to the young kid.
Right.
But like I said, I still think Tigra's really the main
Mhm.
character. It's really her story,
Mhm.
and so. But I think the mother and son, Negrons. They're good villains. That's cool, dark magic, villain. So
Yep. The overbearing mother.
yeah.
The son trying to overachieve to keep his mom happy
Correct.
and resenting her at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and they did so if on our table here, there's a
Was it
there's a
Dynamite?
prequel. It's not Dynamite. It's it is. I'm sorry. Dynamite did a prequel comic book. It's still ongoing.
Yeah.
And so you kind of find out why he hates his mother so much.
Mhm.
So all that the assumption that he hated his mother actually plays out.
yes, it does.
Okay.
Yeah, no, so
Hmm.
so you get some sequel stuff, get a little bit of filling in.
Yeah.
But
Is that still going? Time of recording?
yes,
Okay.
this issue just came out last week.
Okay.
So this was just a one shot, so telling Tigra's background, sort of a side story with her. But then this is the ongoing. Dynamite never tells you how many issues they're going to do, so
Right.
they kind of they don't tell you, because and then it ends up, if it does really well, you get about 12. If it does
Mhm.
okay, you get about 5 or 6 issues. So
Mhm.
I'm assuming this will be between 6 and 12 issues long.
Mhm.
So
Well, as a low fantasy sword and sorcery setting, to me this is a great this is a great thing to mine for settings if you're
Oh,
if
sure.
you're looking to create your own as opposed to finding a canned setting. This movie is great for it. And the simple plot allows you to absorb everything and not have to deal with, who is that again? What's this going on? So you can kind of really focus on the world itself and ways of making it into some kind of campaign setting.
well, and it's so, there's every you've got jungle, there's desert, there's ice, there's fire. I mean, they
Ocean
cover
or sea.
ocean, seas,
Yeah.
and so I think it would give you a lot of freedom as a DM because you can introduce any kind of weird monster you want because in this world it's all over the place. I mean, they had wargs, they had sea creatures, there were alligator monsters, there were
random ruins. Which are some of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, no explanation given.
Yeah,
It's like you basically let the players like wonder about it, and then sit over here behind your screen, writing down their ideas. So that you can. Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Correct.
And there's a spot where Larn is in like the ruins in the early movie, like, and he sees like runes and stuff on the wall. He actually like walks up and touches them. I was like kind of waiting for that to pay off. Like, you gonna tell us what that is? Nope. Like, but again, like you said, that's something you could develop into a campaign. Right. These runes, and you end up cast a read magic or something and translate them. And,
so, what role playing game would this be best for this kind of setting? Do you think?
Well, I've never played it, but I'm going to go with that Hyperborea game. That seems like it's a very low magic, high adventure, and but again, I've never played it. But from all the videos I've watched about it, I would say Hyperborea would probably be the one I would use. It's basically D&D with dice.
If I were using second edition D&D, I'd just pull out my handy dandy complete barbarians guide.
Oh yeah,
with that.
Yeah,
just use that and then downplay the rest of the other classes. Just have everybody play because there are various barbarian types. So,
which is funny because when I first saw this, because I rented it from a like Hollywood Video or something or whatever, box office. We watched it one night, and I went home and started working on a game based on it. And when I introduced the idea, you guys like, we're gonna play cavemen. We don't want to play it stupid. I want to play an elf. Fine, I'll put it away. We'll play something else.
Well, that was new. That was my only experience. You figure coming to D&D, it was more Tolkien and Shannara, so high fantasy.
Whereas I was always coming from the other angle of the low fantasy Conan type stuff, and of course Thundar the Barbarian.
But over time, I've switched. I don't like. I didn't care about Game of Thrones. I don't care about high fantasy anymore. I prefer much this kind of stuff.
Welcome to the low side.
Yes, the low side. Yes,
yes.
The less cultured.
It was interesting how they made Necron look elfish.
Yeah. Like maybe they're a different species or something.
They have the purple skin.
He kind of reminded me of Elric.
Yeah,
absolutely. He had the long white hair. And stuff.
Yeah. You could go through and you could pick out all the influences. Like you could even say that like Necron's magic is the Force because it's always this and then somebody flying out of the way. So he's very Elric-like, and Dark Wolf is of course just a Rosetta painting.
Although it could be interesting. What if Dark Wolf had been like I might do? So they've got the subhumans. Maybe he was a subhuman who, via magic, now has become a smart subhuman. Like if you take his mask off, he looks more like the subhumans. But I don't know. There's lots of different storylines you could do,
and that's the beauty of a movie that just barely gives you enough information to make your own opinions and your own ideas.
But I did like that in the art. The execution of Necron's magic, it's all consistent. So when he does, his move, the ice jaggeds up and turns. And then when he did it to people, they moved like the ice. So I thought that was really clever that and they're frozen. They're like, you can hear like they're freezing as they do it. So,
and he's so in tune with that magic that like, if he gestures wrong, like, an avalanche will happen.
You're right.
Well, and there's also the thing that you brought up about, and it flows in not with the Tigra character and the Necron character is just like the not so subtle sexuality of this film. Like, it's everywhere. And like so much like sexual symbolism in this film. Like she's busting it all over, and then you've got like Necron is like he's intrigued with Larn. He's got some fight left in him.
Right.
And then, like you said, like the way like he emotes and like the magic and everything's exploding and like there's like all this stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like they did what they could do without saying what they needed to because they couldn't.
Yeah.
You know, this was 1983,
Right.
so
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like when he's really concentrating on the magic, it seems very kind of sexual.
Oh,
Yeah.
totally.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the Neanderthals, like the way they look at Tigra,
Mhm.
they're
So yeah.
Guttural, yeah.
guttural, yep.
Yeah, they're obviously thinking about something.
And then and she even uses like her body
yeah.
to basically like get them like which so she can swim away at that one.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
She, like,
Yeah.
she uses her sexuality to
Right.
distract them.
Which I don't think she knows about. She doesn't quite think that about herself at the beginning of the movie.
Right.
Mhm.
She's just being tutored.
Mhm.
She's like a kid,
Right. Yeah.
so very coming of age.
Mhm. Totally.
So she's got a coming of age story arc in this on top of everything else.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Tigra is the unsung hero of the whole story.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, she's definitely is competent. She's not.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, she knows. I mean, she escapes the Neanderthals.
Mm-hmm.
She knows how to use weapons.
Right.
Well, her father just wants her to go back and study.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so she's very underestimated.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, good because she's the one when she is taken to Necron. She's the one who actually tries
To
to
make
a peace accord.
Yeah.
Whereas her brother's completely incompetent and dies within 30 seconds. Yeah. So her brother, who's been fighting the dad the whole time, the father is totally incompetent.
Right.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was a nice twist
Mhm.
as well. And the brother, well, I mean, looking straight off a Conan comic,
Oh, totally.
book cover,
Yeah.
Frazetta cover.
Yeah.
Just totally looks like a young Conan.
The interesting thing for me is Frank Frazetta didn't really use models when he with his paintings,
Mhm.
but using the rotoscope the way they did, I guess he was kind of like a pain in the ass because he kept wanting the people to do more.
Yeah.
With their motions and stuff, and some of the stuff that he was trying to get them to do, the human body can't do.
I read something about. He said he had a lot of fun casting Tigra.
Really?
But he said no matter who, they never. He goes when you're trying to cast a Frazetta girl, he realized by the end of the first day there will never be anyone that can be a Frazetta girl, but he had a lot of fun trying. And he was satisfied with who they picked.
Yeah.
But he said he had a lot of fun trying to find a Frazetta girl.
And that's another thing. Modern audiences would have a field day with the sexism in this movie, except for the fact that everybody's naked.
Right.
I mean, not naked, but everybody's running around in loincloth.
Yeah.
So, it was the style of the time.
Right. Well, and like I would think, but Tigra is never a victim. She's always they're trying to victimize her, but I don't think she comes off as a victim in this movie. So
yeah,
I think the women are all pretty powerful in the movie, minus the witch who just gets stabbed.
Right.
Right.
But yeah, the mother is the main evil character, and then Tigra, like I said, she gets kidnapped a lot, but I mean, you figure there's 20 barbarian guys coming after her, so it's kind of not easy.
Yeah, right.
So,
yeah,
she resists every time.
Yeah,
but yeah, I could see a lot of people would have trouble with. I mean, I suppose you could argue. I mean, people will see what they see.
Yeah.
So some people might be offended by it, but
just keep that in mind if you happen to watch it. Like I said, it's on YouTube, it's on Tubi. You can buy it on DVD off of like Amazon for like $20.
Yeah.
All right, so how about we give like our thumbs up, thumbs down as to whether or not this would make a decent campaign setting, and if you have a movie that you would like to recommend for a campaign setting.
Nick goes first.
Yep,
the new guy goes first.
So yeah, I do recommend it. It's a fun watch, and it's it is cool to see because of course like everyone knows The Hobbit. And like it's cool to see him go in another fantasy direction in this film. And yeah, it's a campaign that practically writes itself. And you could I mean, you could build a whole world out of that with all the different kingdoms and, like we said, the ruins.
Yeah.
And you can explore all that and the jungle. So yeah, that's an easy one, I say. In terms of a fantasy movie, I'd recommend another one. I recommend probably came to mind because we were talking about him earlier, but I would go with Mario Bava's Hercules in the Haunted World because you got an evil magician. You have to go into the underworld to save a woman, and there are monsters there, traps. You have to go, you have to go see the Oracle to learn what you got to do, and it's just a fun movie anyway. So that's we were talking about Mario Bava earlier. So
Yeah.
that's probably what I would go with off the top of my head.
Thumbs up for me, both as a movie and definitely as a campaign for sure, just for the setting itself. And just, I mean, think about the fact that if I were playing a game, I might even capture some stills of the painting. Go into the movie, capture stills of it. Here's what you see. Look at this crazy. That would be for the visuals alone. You could add to a game would be great for the movie. I guess for me, other fantasy movies. For me, the Sinbad setting, the Sinbad movies always is a fantasy setting. But and we do something similar to that in one of the games I play. But for me, I'd like to do I always wanted to do a Dragon Slayer. Because the magic in that movie is so strange. And so I'd like to do maybe a prequel Dragon Slayer type, just because it's a different fantasy world too. So.
Well, I always really liked this movie, and yeah, I think I never really thought about it before, but it would be a cool campaign. I think it's just so different. Like you don't have all the different races and all that. It's more down to earth. The monsters are more kind of down to earth too, like Neanderthal men and dinosaurs and things like that. So yeah, I think it's great. As far as a fantasy movie, I guess this won't be a surprise to anybody, but I'd say Jason and the Argonauts.
Oh yeah.
In fact, my game, the game that I invented, is based on Greek mythology, and we were also talking about Wizards, Ralph Bakshi's one of his other movies, which is kind of a post-apocalyptic fantasy setting, which is really cool.
That would be interesting to play out.
Game.
Yeah.
So, Gamma World meets D&D.
Right.
I did make a non-fantasy movie that I recently turned into a campaign was Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Because you basically have to deliver the bodies of a flesh golem and a vampire to a museum, and then people want to steal them, and they're a werewolf making things crazy. There's an old castle, and so I made a whole campaign based on that.
That's funny.
It was a lot of fun.
Huh.
Well, obviously it's a yes from me. I can't recommend this movie enough for a campaign setting. As far as fantasy, for me, I'm gonna go with Krull.
Oh
yeah.
Anytime you can mix fantasy and science fiction, I'm there. Good versus evil, I'm not stormtrooper. And classic monsters like your Cyclops. It's got everything, and that cool weapon that I can.
The glaive.
Everyone had one of those when that movie came out. If you played D&D, you had one.
Sure, right.
All right. Well, I think on that note, we're gonna wrap up this obviously favorable review of Fire and Ice. Why don't you guys give out where they can find you, where they can find your stuff? Those of you that have stuff, those of you that don't, you can tout what other videos you're in.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I have some role playing game books out on Drive-Thru RPG. This is one of them.
The game your mom warned you about.
Right. They're under Satyr Play Productions. I've got Grimoire. I've got Argonauts Odyssey. I almost said Argonauts Odyssey.
I don't know why.
Argonauts Odyssey. And I'm working on getting another game called Crime Doesn't Pay up on there. Just got to play tested maybe one
Yep.
more time.
When it's play tested and fine tuned, it'll be on this channel.
Right. It's a role playing card game, if that makes sense. You'll see. It works. And also I have a website, which is satyrplayproductions.com, with my comic book stuff. I'm also on Amazon if you want to look for me there.
Cool.
Mark, where are you?
You can find me right here in this room every other Saturday on the Return of the Son of the Show, which features 2 to 4 of us on Saturday. So we're all on Return of the Son of the Show, but we also have our Paul and I do our Tuesday night edition of the Return of the Son of the Show, currently reviewing Battlestar Galactica, but we also have a new feature, The Importance of Being Earnest, where we examine the glorious career of the greatest actor of his or any generation, Ernest Borgnine.
Yes.
And so you can look for that on your YouTube. So,
and I'm on. My music blog is 7th Level Music, the number 7 thlevelmusic.com. Review everything from psychedelic rock to all kinds of weird genres. Write books about film. That can be my disaster movie guide, can be found on Amazon or McFarlane Books. I'm also weirdarama.com, weird-o-rama.com, where I recently I tied for the Golden Turkey Award for Best Horror Host of the Year on the Vortex streaming channel.
I saw that. That's impressive.
I was quite surprised to hear that.
Tied with who?
Not Oliver the Caretaker.
Yes.
Spine-chilling cinema.
Oh.
Yeah.
We'll take him out for you.
All right. So yes, tied with Oliver. And so yeah, that's where you can find me.
Yeah, and I'll have links to everything down below. Also down below, you can find my game, Strangeville, and you can also find the link for the Doomed Wizard Society membership certificate. Print that sucker up, put it in a frame, put it on your wall, and be the envy of wizards everywhere. And on that note, this has been the Doomed Wizard,
Magic Mike,
Mark the Wizard,
Nick the Necromancer.
Nice.
And as always, thanks for watching.